recording. This is, not a sec. I've started the recording and now I have the desktop audio on also. So this is Design 301. This is our lecture and guided practice. And today is, that's not the right one. That's June 9th. Today is June 16th. There we go. That's the right one. And we're doing orthographic projection today. And we were just talking, I was talking with Stephen because he's done this in the past long ago. Orthographics, if you watched the little video, and I posted one last night also, orthographics is a way of presenting a 3D object flat. And because there's this thing called foreshortening, when you look at it, you can't get real dimensions off of a 3D isometric view when it's just measuring it flat. So you have to look at each view directly to be able to measure it. Now, with our software these days, that's really become not quite so critical. There are times when you want to see things in three directions because it's easier to view. But we're able to get those dimensions directly from our model now. We've got software that creates these 3D views, these three orthographic views for us. We can even create the 3D view from the orthographic views. So I want you to take this little unit that we're going to do with a bit of a grain of salt and go, okay, that was cool. And maybe it will apply to what you end up doing with your CAD knowledge, and maybe it won't. So this is kind of the day and tomorrow, and you'll see it more. But this is not the end of the world. This is used a lot in mechanical design for people that are doing like HVAC and coordination with HVAC and plumbing and electrical and data and gas lines. These views are very useful for zeroing in to find out exactly how far something is away from something else. But, if you're landscaping, I don't know of any landscapers that really do orthographics. You'll do elevation views, but you don't project them necessarily orthographically on your drawing. Architects, they don't do it very often. Interior designers will do it some when you need to create the manufacturing drawings for some cool piece of interior work. But this is really the mechanical realm that uses this most. But it's good. It's good to be able to wrap your brain around it. So that's what we're going to do. We'll do a little discussion of orthographics, and then I'm going to demo the submittal plates for you, plates 5 and 6, and you can see how those work. And I did put in a video of doing plate 5, number 1. So this little orthographic presentation is excellent. It really tells you all you need to know about it. There are specific rules that can be used, but we don't need those now. And this is a how-to. There were a couple of other quick questions about, okay, there's so much on this sheet, on this page. Where do I find the template for week 2 again? So I'm going to show you it's on here. I just clicked on my week 2 main bar. And if I go down far enough, you'll always see at the bottom weekly portfolio submittals. And here are, somebody asked me to put the actual plates on, so I did that. So you can see each of the individual things you're supposed to draw. I thought that was a good suggestion. It makes life easier. And then right below that is the link to the template. And so there's your template, and there's that first one. There's the second one, third one, fourth one. And this one, there's 2 to do. So you'll probably have 2 images shown on here, or if you're interested to do so, you can right click over in the navigation bar and duplicate that slide and do the top one on one slide and the bottom one on another. But that's just up to you. That's how you wish to organize it. Okay? So there's where you get the template for week 2. So again, what we're going to go over today is the basics of orthographic projection. So I'm hoping that you watched that little video together so that this all makes sense. But we'll just kind of look at a video, at a Jamboard, and then also look at how to do it in AutoCAD. Let me start with the Jamboard, and I'll put this one in the Google Meet here. Oh, let's see. Hold on a sec. I need to do that from here. I can't copy from one area to the other. So there's the Jamboard. It's in. If you want to jump on here, you're welcome to do so. And I think I've got it as anybody can. I have it as anybody can view. Anybody can actually edit. So if you have some questions and comments, you can pop them in here. But what I thought I'd do is I'd take a look at this and just tell you how we go about figuring out how to draw this thing. Okay, so you'll have noticed from the thing that there's 3 ways to look at it. From the front, standing over here, looking at it in this direction. From the right side, standing over here to the right and looking at it. And standing or looking down above it and looking down. So let's see. Oh, I want to show number 1 here. So what you see in red here is what you would see in the right side view. So red is my right side view. And if I were to count, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along the bottom, 1, 2 up, 1, 2, 3 back, 2 up, 1, 2, 3. Now that, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's really weird because that's up and down, but we're going to just draw it flat on the paper. So how would I draw that? Let me draw it in red. Make it fat here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That drew the bottom line. 1, 2 up. That drew that line. 1, 2, 3 over. 2 up. 3 over. And down. That's 6, 2, 3, 2, 3, and then back down. So that's my front. That's called your front view. I know this is all sloppy looking, but that's okay. And now I'm going to have to get in the middle of it here a little bit too. So now let me look at this green side. If I'm standing over here and looking at it this way, I would only see this green stuff. And since I'm looking straight at it, you know, when you look straight at something, you don't see depth. Like here, when you look at my phone, you can sort of see all the parts of it. But when I look at it just from the side, I don't see any depth. Okay? So I don't know how deep something is. Like when I look at it this way, I can see that there's something right here. And you have to look at my presentation now. I'm not doing it on here. I'll stop presenting. And I'll pin. I've just pinned myself to the screen. So now I'll be recording it. So when I look straight at my phone, I see this feature, but I don't know how far back that is. It just kind of looks flat. Now, because our eyes are used to seeing this thing and we know what it is, you can tell how far away that is. And same with up here. I don't know how far back that really is. So when you look straight at something, you can't tell how far back something is. You just sort of see it as a feature. Now let me start presenting again. So this, and I gotta share my screen. I've done that. Okay, so I'm doing okay. So now I'm just gonna see this thing as a square, a rectangle, and then right on top of it, I'll see that. So let me draw those. And I see it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 2, back 4, and over. And notice how these line up. And then the next one's the same way. And so those just look sort of like that. And then finally, when I look straight down from the, and so let's see. This surface here is this, and this one here is this. And you can't tell how far back it is until you look over here and go, oh, I got it. When I look straight across, that's why it's called orthographic. I look at the next view over, I can tell that it's really placed back 3. So see how your brain has to sort of figure those things out. I look at that and I don't know where it is, but if I look straight across at the next one, I'll see that it's located 1, 2, 3 back. So I can't tell everything from this one view. I need to look at both of these views. And I still don't know what the top looks like. So now I got to do the top. So the top, if I look straight down on it, I see this shape, which is a rectangle. And I see that this part really lines up with this red thing. Let me do that. I lined those up. And then this one goes, it's so weird, it goes up. That's what's really the trick to doing that top view. Line up that common line and then go the other direction. And I'll do the same thing down here. I'll line these ones up and then I'll draw the rest of it. Now, when you do it in AutoCAD, you don't need all these fancy colors. There we go. There's an orthographic projection of this shape. So now let's see if I can do that in AutoCAD. So let's see. Back to my VMware. Make this small. There's my auto. Now let's take a look at that. I'm going to hide one of these. That's what it looks like. And there's the front, right, top. And so those were the 3 views. Okay, and Stephen was saying, yeah, this is all pretty easy stuff when we make a new layout here. Oh, let's see. There we go. Let's turn that one off and put everything on layer 0. There we go. So now, if I want to do what's called a layout, and I can make those, look at how cool this is. This will make these 3 views. There we go. There's my 3 views. And you see how they look right? See how those are the same? So AutoCAD uses those rules we just used, line things up, look at them straight from a direction, and put them in there, and it makes those 3 views that we just did. I love that about AutoCAD. Okay, but now let's go ahead and see if I can just do one of these. And here I've got it. Here I've got it with the colors on there. Okay, so you can see them with the right colors. I just color coded those to match with the other one. So here we go. I'm going to just show you, and there's a video of this. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure that my snap settings are right so that each square is 1. So now each square is 1, and when I draw, I've got it. So let me take a snip. Let me come back here. Take a snip of this so that I've got one to work with. Let me get my menu to show. I don't know why it doesn't always take that snip properly. And I'm just going to make this small. And I don't care where you put the drawing part. Okay. So here we go. And I can put the snap on also because these are all normal numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 2, 3, and down. And let me turn my line weights on. There we go. So you can see there's the front. And I always want to line up. That's the key part. Now, you can draw over the top of this line again. It doesn't hurt anything, but I'm not going to. There, that's it. Now, in your presentation, you might want to do something like this. Show the grid, show the snap, and show this. That's not a bad little thing to put in there. I really just need these 3 views, but because the grid lines are in there, it really makes it obvious that things show up. Now I'm going to show you one more cool thing if you feel like it, you can do a hatch and you can make those colors match up. So how did I do that? It's the hatch command, which is in the draw tool. Click on it and click solid color. And then pick what color you want to use. And then it'll find little spaces. If you get inside the spaces, it works. So that's kind of a neat thing if you feel like it. You don't have to, but it's cool. But now look how expressive that is to show somebody what you've got going. I always get the end of that snip tool. That makes a pretty nice presentation because people can see the grid lines to make sure that everything lines up. And people can see that you sort of thought out what you were doing. You do not have to do that. What I had there before would have been just fine. Okay, so that's how to do those. Now, I want to show you another little thing about these. You can see here that this next one looks really complicated. But it's not that complicated in reality. I'm going to show you why. There's one of the pieces. And there's the other piece. And there they are both together. See how one of them is made from the other? One of them is made from the other. So really, if I start with my other drawing, I can just sort of like add this line in and add a little bit of line work in here. You can see these two lines. And then there's one more little line in the back that you can see. So you would just add those little lines in and you'd almost have it pretty quickly. So how could I do that? There was an extra line right there. And what that is, let me show you where that comes from. I see that line, but I still see all of this. Oh, I see there's little pieces of this line. That line used to go all the way across, but now that little piece and that little piece are missing. And then I remember that I have the trim command. There. Now I've made this other one. And I should have made a copy of this, right? But I'm just going over the top of it. I should have made a copy so that I'd keep this one. So I see that surface and I see that surface. When I look at it this way, all I see is an extra little line right here. And what is that? It's actually this weird slopey line. Or it's this line. Okay, so that line carries all the way down now. So in the front view, this line carries all the way down. Let's see from the top. Oh, the only thing I've got this weird shape. That little thing, which is the cutout. I have to show the cutout from the top and from the side. Let me come back here and do that really quickly with a rectangle tool. Why I have all these extra things on. There we go. So that's how quickly you can make this second one. If you sort of have the idea that you start with the other one and just add a couple of more little bits to it, you've got it. That makes sense for everybody? How did I draw the hidden lines in the ISO view? Well, first of all, so there was a question, how did I draw the hidden lines in the ISO view? You should know, and where is that? Which one did I do that on? Right there. So now, okay. So first of all, they shouldn't be there. So let me edit that view and say, no, isometric views don't normally have them. But when you create it from the model, it actually puts the hidden lines in for you. Isn't that cool? Isn't that the most? This is using layers. This is the idea of using layers, turning things on and off. I can have two models in the same place and show them at will. So they shouldn't actually be in here. And I'll show you how to do hidden lines next week. I think next week are standards. But when you use this tool from the layout called a base view versus making a viewport or doing it in the model, it comes out. And I'm not interested in you guys doing the hidden lines because we haven't talked about that yet. Okay, so that was a good question, but it's moving ahead. This is the coolest stuff, though. I love playing with this. But let's go back to here. So now I've got my second one, and I could put my other one on there to look at it. Let's look and see what those were. Okay. You can see that what I've done here I've essentially taken away that piece to make this. And I've taken away that to make this. And everything else was the same. Everything else was the same. Okay, but you can see that and I'm just going to draw it over here now. If I were to draw the front view, I would draw this shape. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would draw this view. And since I'm looking at it straight, I have to kind of think, what shape would that be? I would just see this part right here, looking at it straight. I don't see stuff that's angled back. So I would see that, and I would see that. These lines do what they call project to the primary surface. Now, when I look at the other side, I would see this. And then I would see this shape. And I would see this little line right here. And when I look from the top, I would see this shape. I would see this shape and this shape. And when I look at this from the top, I would just see that. That's how I can set those up. If you want to go line by line by line, surface by surface by surface. Let's look at the net. Do I have 5 of them on here? I don't know why I have 5. Let's take a look at this one now. This one's kind of interesting. I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this is really weird. This kind of runs along until it hits there. That's what I would see from the front. And then this is one tall on top of it. And then when I go to the side, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up 3. Then over 2. Down 1. And then connect. And when I look from the top, I line up this edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 6, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, hold on a sec. I started in the wrong spot. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 6. And now I have to see this thing. And I see that it would be 1, 2, 3. Would look like that. That's what that one's going to look like, which is kind of cool. That's how that one will shape out for you. And then the final one, look, it's the same shape, but from the top, you see this little cutout. That would be cut out. And from the front, you see that extra shape. And this is all hidden. In the side view, you don't see this because it's hidden. And we're not doing hidden lines in this one. So if I were to make a copy of that other one, if I were to make a copy of this, let me do that. Wrong copy. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. Then all I would have to do here is draw this little piece that goes up. And it doesn't, you can't really tell how high this is. So I'm going to let you estimate it. You can tell it from over here. It's 2 back. Right? It's right there because that's 2 back and up. But I'll just let you estimate it. That gets added in there. And in the top, we would see these lines. Would look like that. So those are the only 2 changes. So you could make a real quick copy in AutoCAD and then just use those edit tools. Draw a box and trim it, draw a box and trim it. If you want to, you can draw a line upward right there and draw a line over to find out exactly where that goes and then erase those. Yeah, I've come back to and then up to where it hits. Okay, and so that's how you do those. They don't take long. It's just a matter of getting good at them. If you want to do more practice at this, in the workbook, there's like 3 or 4 pages of bunches of these that you can practice with if you feel like it. Okay? One of the things that you can do in the last couple of weeks, if you like, though, for your individual project, is to change all of the 2D stuff we've done into 3D stuff and then practice with these cool things that I just showed you about how to make 3D versions of these and how to show them. Okay? So that's really the main part of the lecture. Let me see if there was anything else I was supposed to go over. Graphics, let's see if that all did all show up. That's good. I was in a couple of different ones. Went over that. Discussion of orthographics, I sort of did that. And I demoed how to do the plates. There we go. Okay, the workbook. Let me find out where I did put the workbook. Let's see if I put it in here. There it is right there. So this is on our main page. And right down at the bottom under useful links. Let's take a look and see what's in there, where you might find it. Down here quite a ways. And this is really good practice. And don't worry about these ones. Here they are right here. So you can see that I did this one and this one, but there was this other cool intermediate step. And this one, you can even make one more cut set of cuts to make this one. And once you've got this one, if you do this in 3D and go through these 4 steps, you get to this very quickly, and it's really cool. So there's one you can do. And you can see this one, I just did these. But then I didn't worry about this one or this one. But you can do those, and it's all just adding one new little operation each time. And then this one, you get to practice with some curves. And I'll tell you, this one's a mind boggler. This one, just because of the way the isometrics show this, it is not easy to figure out, because I'm going to tell you, this point on this curve does not line up with the bottom. It sort of looks like it does, but it does not. See how this point on the curve does not line up with the bottom? But when you cut away all this stuff, it gives you this weird thing. That's why isometric drawings are not always the best. This one's very hard to do. And then this one is a freak out when it gets to making this cutout right here and the hidden lines and everything, if you were to do that. But when you do this in solids and use the tools that are available, it is so simple. So this is a great one to do in solids later on. Okay, and this is some tangent cuts and things like that. So if you want to play with these, you can. And if you want to read this, tell you the truth, I have found that all of this stuff confuses people more than it helps them. That's why I like the little video I gave you. It says all this in 2 minutes very quickly, very easily. But these are fun. These ones are fun ones to make and to do if you feel like it. Okay, any other cool questions or comments? So the submittal templates are here. CAD workbook is here. What you've got going is here. What to do overall is on the main bar across. There's your submittal. Yeah, just stick with the videos. So which ISO draft mode do you use and when? Ortho, left, top, right. We'll do a quick set of orthos, a little isometrics a little bit later on. Tell you the truth, except for which you will need them, except for piping and electrical drawings. Very few people use isometrics anymore because you get it so quickly from your 3D model. So I'm going to defer that one, Stephen, till later on when we cover it very briefly, like what we've done here. But I usually, when I'm in ISO mode, you use F5 to switch between which face, and I use ortho to draw because then it'll follow those. But really and truly, wow, it's almost not worth doing. It's almost easier just to do it in a 3D mode. ISO mode is really only useful for creating a 3D flat view, and then you can't do anything with it. However, for schematics, they are still ideal for schematic drawings. Okay, then let's take a look really quickly at the discussions. Under production, I just added one in here. And what I did is I used OBS. That's what I used to make these. And I made a little example for you. You can use the Canvas Studio to do that. Or you can use PowerPoint. Or, as I showed yesterday, you can just hold your phone up and talk into your phone if you need to. But I've put that one in there. And then I found this cool link to a video of a boring bar in operation. I found out that's what this thing is. It's a boring bar tool holder. And so then you might ask, what's a boring bar? I guess that's a bar where they don't do anything. No, a boring operation is on a lathe where you make an inside diameter, and it's an actual type of machining operation. You can drill or you can bore. And a boring bar is a certain way of making an inside diameter on a lathe. And most of the videos I saw were 15 or 20 or 30 minutes long, but this one's a few minutes long, and I started it right at a certain point. So we have to watch the little ads here. And you can see I set it to start here. So that is a boring operation. And this is not the boring bar holder that you'll see that we used, but in a minute, it's going to, in a few seconds, that is a boring operation. And they're just running it deeper and deeper and deeper. So this is a boring bar, and this is a boring bar holder. You can see it looks different than the one that we're using, but that's okay. And whether it's an old machine tool that's like this, or whether it's a CNC, doesn't really matter. You can get a little bit of experience. See, these are those digitals like you see on our mill tool. So I've put one on here as an example that you can go by. You don't have to use all the jargon. Just pick at least one item of jargon that you're not really familiar with. And on this one, tracing to make a drawing, I've given you a little bit of information about tracing. Tracing is a fundamental drawing skill, and you will need to do it over and over and over again. Even in production, I take images, trace them, and throw them onto a laser cutter or scale them up for a plasma cutter. Or I'm always using tracing. In architectural, you're often tracing to get a view that gets rid of the extra stuff. And in this case, we're going to do tracing as it's used most commonly for planning. So an area map is used on a planning submittal. Sorry about that. Get me back in view a little bit more. Back. My apologies. I am waiting for a call from a contractor, though, so I had to check that out. When you look at Google Maps, you will notice that they have a copyright on them. So if I'm going to use some information from Google Maps, I can't just pop it in there, but I can trace it or I can modify it in a certain way. And what you see on Google Maps is often more than you want to see. So this is an example of doing an area map that would be used on a remodel submittal or a development submittal or a land planning use submittal. And there's always something called an area map that marks the vicinity. Usually the area is the area that planning commission has control over, and the vicinity shows where in that area the site is, and then the site map is specific. we're just going to do an area map and call that good because I'm more interested in you learning how to trace. And that's got some parts. You have to cut and paste the image and then modify it a little bit and then trace it, and then you have to decide what else you're putting in there. And I'd like you to make a short video about what you included and why. What level of detail did you include? And in this case, I'm suggesting that there's very, very little amount of detail. I think that if you just put in some major roads, you're fine. Okay? So that's how to do this one, and it's putting to work the things that you did last week. Okay? So there we go. That's what I've got for today for you. Do you guys have any questions right now to bring up? Okay, then I'm going to stop the recording.